Hello everyone! Today I will teach you about ratio and proportion. Our objectives, we are going to define a ratio and a proportion. Expresses one value as a fraction of another given the ratio and vice versa. And compare values given the ratio and vice versa. The pound cake is one of the simplest and easiest cake to bake. Come on, let's bake one following the recipe below. Alright, so what is the ratio of butter to sugar? So, the ingredients of a pound cake is 1 cup unsalted butter and we have 1 cup sugar. So the ratio of butter to sugar is 1:1. Next, ratio of sugar to flour. So sugar we have 1, then flour we have 2 cups cake flour. So that is 1:2. So a ratio is a comparison of two or more quantities or numbers. So for example, a basket has 4 bananas and 10 mangoes. What is the ratio of bananas to mangoes in the basket? So it says 4 bananas and 10 mangoes. So ratio of bananas to mangoes, we have 4:10, or in column form, we have 4:10, or fraction form, 4:10. So given the figure, we have to find the ratio of the following. So number of shapes to be compared, then give the ratio. Number of circles to number of rectangles. So number of circles in the figure, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then number of rectangles, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is 5:4. Next, number of rectangles to number of triangles. So number of rectangles, we have 4. Then number of triangles, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 triangles as well. So that is 4:4, or in lowest term, that is 1:1. Next, number of triangles to number of squares. So number of triangles, we have 4. Then number of squares, we have 1, 2, 3. So we have 4:3. Next, number of squares to number of circles. So number of squares, we have 3. The number of circles, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have the ratio is 3:5. So number of circles to number of triangles. So the number of circles, we have 5. The number of triangles, we have 4. So that is 5:4. Okay, so a ratio can be written in 4 ways. So first one, the phrase form. So phrase form is in this form. The second one, we have the column form. The third one, we have the division form. And the fourth one, we have the fraction form. So these are the 4 ways to write a ratio. Next, simplify ratio. So 4/10. So we can simplify ratio by dividing the numerator and the denominator by their greatest common factor. So the GCF, or the greatest common factor of 4 and 10, is 2. So divide 4 by 2 and also divide 10 by 2. So 4 divided by 2, we have 2. Then 10 divided by 2, we have 5. So 4/10 is equal to 2/5 in lowest term, or in simplified form. Next, 12/15. So 12 and 15 has a greatest common factor of 3. So divided by 3, then 12 divided by 3, we have 4. Then 15 divided by 3, we have 5. So It means that 12/15 is equivalent or equal to 4/5. Okay, next we are going to compare ratios. So, 3/4 is equal to 6/8. So, let us find out if 3/4 is really equal to 6/8. So, how to compare ratios written in fraction form? So, we have to cross multiply to find if the ratios are equal. So, cross multiply. So, we have 3 times 8, that is 24, then equals 4 times 6, that is 24. So, 24 is equal to 24. So, since the product of the two ratios are equal, so therefore, the 3/4 is really equal to 6/8. Next, 10/15 is equal to 2/3. So, let us cross multiply again. So, 10 times 3, we have 30 is equal to 15 times 2, we have 30. So, 30 is equal to 30. So, therefore, 10/15 is equal to 2/3. Okay, so since the products are equal, the ratios are proportional. So, we can say that the two ratios are proportional if the products are equal. So now, let us define what is a proportion. So a proportion is an equation which states that two ratios are equal. So when we say equation, we have now an equal sign, and we are now comparing two ratios. So a proportion is an equation which states that two ratios are equal. Okay, so thus 3:4 is equal to 6:8, and 10:15 is equal to 2:3. So 4 and 6 here. 4 and 6 is what we call the means, or the numbers inside to be compared. So we have the means. Next, here in the second two ratios, we have 10 and 3 are the extremes. So the number outside to be compared. Okay. So let us find out if 3:4 is really equal to 6:8. So we have to find first the product of the means. So 4 times 6, we have 24. Next, find the product of the extremes. 3 times 8, we have 24. So since the product of the means is equal to the product of the extremes, so they are proportion. Next, 10:15 is equal to 2:3. So let us find out the product of the means. We have 15 times 2, that is 30. Product of the extremes, 10 times 3, we have 30. So the product of the means is equal to the product of the extremes. So we have the two ratios we compared are proportion. So they are proportion. Next, 2:3 is equal to 8:12. So find the product of the means. 3 times 8, we have 24. 2 times 12, that is 24. So they are proportion. Or we can also write the two ratios in fraction form. So 2/3 is equal to 8/12. So in fraction form, we can cross multiply to find the product. So 2 times 12, we have 24 is equal to 3 times 8, we have 24. So it also 24 is equal to 24. So these ratios are, or these two equations are proportion. Okay, 4:5 is equal to 12:20. So let us find the product of the means. 5 times 12, we have 60. 4 times 20, we have 80. So as we can see, 60 is not equal to 80. Then in fraction form, we have 4/5 is equal to 12 over 20. So cross multiply, 4 times 20, we have 80. Then 5 times 12, we have 60. So 80 is not equal to 60. So therefore, these two ratios we compared are not proportion. So the first example is proportion. The second example is not a proportion since the product of the means is not equal to the product of the extreme. So in fraction form, when we cross multiply, their product is not equal to the product of another fraction. So they are not proportion. So keep in mind, a ratio is a comparison of two or more quantities or numbers. So a proportion is an equation that tells that two ratios are equal. In a true proportion, the product of the means is equal to the product of the extreme. So we can say that our proportion is equal, or we can call two ratios a proportion if the product of the means is equal to the product of the extremes.